There we go. Early bombs, always good. And all 4 players making that choice, they'll be very glad for it.
We can see a small divergence off the back as, well, Alma, Gus, and Seven Sins both going north through a slightly different route. But Wild Anaconda's found the blue male up in the sanctuary.
Very nice. And Rez thinks about going to the castle, decides, you know what, I gotta go visit my uncle. Well, we just have a bit of a stream delay for 7.
Yeah, that's just to sync up their streams, nothing to be worried about. And it looks like the uncle was holding the powder.
Yeah, that's a little bit dubious. Who knows what's in that bag?
Oh, it might explain how he ended up in there.
Yeah, I guess that's a little bit better than him having the mushroom.
So we have seen a couple of tree pull checks, and it looks like pulling a tree when they've killed one enemy just gives them a heart today. So I don't think we'll see more of that. But the bush crab was giving out bombs, and
that's a great thing to farm. We'll probably see that here.
I'd be very surprised if they never did that.
Oh, and there was a map check. I saw Crystal and Hera.
It looked like the blue pendant might have been at the Desert Palace. And it looks like, or it sounds like, they are wandering throughout the world right now.
Indeed. Yeah, we're having just a touch of trouble here. We're back, alright. Bomb upgrade out of the forest drop as Seven Sins would seem to be standing still in the lumberjack, where a bottle is hidden, we see on Elmagus.
So that bottle will make the runners a bit anxious, I think. It's possible that the sick kid will give them an item for coming with a bottle, but they'll have to beat Ganem if they want that particular bottle out of him.
Right, and there is a small chance that it will be the only bottle accessible for them, but
with
it's
3 other bottles in the game, my hope is that they're going to find a bottle somewhere else and not have to worry about that.
Right. It would be quite the remarkable seat for a AGA required for lumber bottle.
I won't lie, I would be excited to see that, but for the time being, I want the runners to do well.
Yeah, and so we've got a red rupee out of Blind's Hut for Wild, and we might not get to see some of these other chests. I'm not sure about the second, but there's a heart piece in number 3. And might get a heart
Looks
piece.
Like another heart piece.
And we might get a chance to see chest number 2. Oh, Power Glove out of the back as Wild's feed zips through that section.
The Power Glove, I think, is what makes him go so fast.
I thought that was the, oh, what are those again?
We don't have those today.
Oh.
Looks like Wild finding a full heart container at the back of the well, as well as 20 rupees, a piece of heart, and 20 more rupees. So
more red trash pickups.
Very red, mostly trash.
Although this early collecting the heart pieces isn't so bad. You gotta build up at least 4 hearts before you go to face an early blind, right?
We're assuming they're going for early blind, which...
Oh, and there was hookshot in the first chest of the well we're seeing on Rez's screen. Totally missed that. Very nice. So yeah, they've got some Death Mountain access if they can get a lamp or are feeling bold enough to face the dark.
I wouldn't be surprised if any of these runners started just running up Death Mountain without the lantern.
And we got chat calling out what I missed as silver's in the chicken hut. Thanks for that.
Well, that's a load off their minds. They won't need those for a very long time, but... And if I'm reading it right, it looks like the bottle vendor for the low price of 100 rupees is selling 100 rupees?
It was either 100 or 50. I'm not sure, because I think after that exchange, I saw Seven Sins has under 100 rupees.
That's right. So it would be
Yeah.
50.
Yeah. So, just a bad business investment.
The bottle vendor's going to do well off of this.
Yeah.
So it looks like Wild is checking the back of Escape right now. Since he got that early glove, this is a great place to check for 3 chests.
Yeah, it's definitely not one you want to leave eating.
And he comes up with the red boomerang, it looks like, which
And
most runners
bad.
will say is the inferior boomerang, but I know you have some different thoughts about it.
Yeah, I do appreciate the longer range, helps out in GT, among other places. And we got Rez making a run for his race game after Elmagus turned it down, leading me to believe he did not check beforehand. But hey, bombs this early? Why not? Having picked up an upgrade at places he's not even wasting.
Yeah, so it looks like Wild is going straight up Death Mountain. No lamp, he's just going to run through that dark cave. So
and that's right, ninnies. We have top versus top. That's green versus red, and then blue versus yellow for the purposes of our Swiss tournament standings. But
yeah,
we
for
do
those
have
who
all one
missed the first minute. That's right. They're both on the same seat here. They are, however, in independent races. So just because the runner on the left wins, that does not affect the other race.
And we do have crystal number 6 at Eastern. So we've got 2 crystals in the light world. And you were correct gauging blue pendant on desert early. Wild Anaconda had made his way up to Death Mountain. I missed what the old man had.
Fortunately, Elma Gus is going to show us as well in just a second.
Well, that's a nice job putting that hook shot, or in this case, the red rang to work. See, you can't do echolocation with the blue boomerang. Not in a big long hallway like that.
That's a compelling argument.
Although, when he has the hook shot.
So it looks like Wild hasn't found anything of interest on the left side of Death Mountain. He does have that hook shot, so we're going to see him go across that bridge and check out the right side.
And we're going to see another great use of the hook shot here on Rez's screen as he goes into the mini Moldorm cave and just one-hit KOs all of those with ease. So much easier than the bomb strats that are often employed at this stage of an open mode seed. And is that a hammer?
That is a hammer for Rezephos from the generous guy in Moldorm Cave.
Yeah. Generous indeed.
And Wild's found the Moon Pearl up in that 7-chest Paradox Cave on Death Mountain.
Fantastic.
So with the combination of those 2 items, that's some very early Dark World access for these runners.
Indeed. They've got everything they need to get in through a couple of different avenues. And they're just a certain piece of blue footwear away from maybe a dip in the swamp.
It looks like Wild also found the mirror in that cave. Or, I'm sorry, not Maeve.
Quake and the mushroom?
Quake.
Oh, okay.
Quake medallion.
I was going to say, that was
I wish it was the mirror.
Stacked. Yeah, that would have been a stacked cave. So we had Quake, the mushroom, and the Moon Pearl up there, which is definitely a nice haul.
Yeah, and as a side effect of... Oh no, he doesn't have the hammer, so he can't make it up to the Tower of Hera.
Wait. But we will see...
Hookshot Cave, I think.
As Rez makes his way up there, he'll be able to do this as well.
That's right. By virtue of having checked down by Lake Hylia, Rez is going to be able to get all the way to Hera.
Yeah. Knowing it's a crystal and you have a hammer to take down Moldorm It's really a smart play.
Yeah, and from a check, it looks like they've found the ether medallion sitting on top of that floating island, as we call it.
Oh, on the floating island. All right.
Yeah. So since the entrances to Misery Mire and Turtle Rock have been shuffled and might need a different medallion than normal, they're going to have to pay attention to where that ether medallion is.
That is correct. And we'll hope that they find even more than just that as they make their way to Hookshot Cave later for sure. It sounds like one of our runners is in the 7 stash. Oh, there we are, 7 sins. While Rez is going to make his dark trip up to the west side of Death Mountain. Each of our runners showing a good prowess here.
So it looks like
dark rooms.
Wild and Elmagus are finally making their way down to the south of Dark Mountain, or south of Hyrule. They're going to be finding that hammer and kind of kicking themselves, I expect.
A tiny bit for sure, but knowing that there's so much left to do up there, it's going to be fine to route it in later, but we'll have to see if Rez really gets a big advantage from this.
That's right. Now, all 4 runners have been up Death Mountain, but it's a sequence break for all of them at this point, because without that lamp, they weren't expected to go up there. Obviously, we're not going to stop them, but if technically the game's not expecting them to run up there till they found a lamp.
Right. And that'll be interesting if the basement of Hera comes into play, too, because there may be an item of great worth there that gets left behind on account of having no fire. Whereas if done in sequence, the lamp would provide that.
That's right. Unless, of course, that flute is their intended way of getting up the mountain. We'll have to see how that turns out.
Yeah. It'll be quite interesting as we see Dark World coming for Wild. And a trip to the Ice Rock Cave. Play. Oh, and rather even a fake flipper instead from Elmagus. But yeah, I definitely agree with Wild taking advantage of what we lovingly call and sometimes feel disappointed by the Hype Cave. We'll see how it pays out for him. Oh, well, there you go.
The flute. I'd say flute. That pays off.
Yeah, and actually that gets him the Death Mountain access now. Because the glove and the hammer were both away from the mountain.
Ah, but the Moon Pearl was on the mountain.
Oh, you're right. So yeah, no, this still works into a strange sequence break.
Yes. Now, I missed what Elmagus found, or Elmagus rather, found at the waterfall cave there.
If our trackers to be believed, then it wasn't anything of terrible import.
I believe our tracker.
I believe it. Thank you, Gilmo. Clarifying
and a heart piece.
Indeed. As Rez finds that information about the floating island and is going to make that play on Hera. I do like his chances here, even knowing that the flute is in Dark World. It's not going to do anything for him here. And the mushroom was turned in for a red rupee.
If I could get $20 every day for something I found growing in the forest, I'd be pretty happy.
And Wild picked up a bottle somewhere as he went back to a sick kid. And so we found out that all he gets for that is a little bit of love.
Well, that'll certainly take his anxiety away from that Aghanim cave under the lumberjacks.
And we're going to see Elmagus get that flute now.
And Seven Sins is already doing the quick check into Skull Woods which sounds like it's a crystal dungeon.
That is correct, yeah. Got that good crystal dungeon music for you. And I do like this play. These are map check. Green on Mire, red on Swamp. 5 is Skull Woods.
That's right.
But yeah, I do like these early Skull Woods plays when you can do them, as the chests are basically free, just a little bit of navigation. And it looks like we're going to see Rez go for a bomb jump here. Oh, but he takes the fall. And a double fall at that.
Yeah,
Yikes.
that is one of the easier bomb jumps to set up, but when you mess it up, it's one of the most punishing to fail on. So it looks like Seven Sins found the mitts in the back of Skull Woods.
Awesome. And right after that, a red rupee, so he knows his work here is done for now.
That's right. Each runner, for those that don't know, usually keeps track of how many items they can expect from each dungeon. So we all know that Skull Woods has 2. When Seven Sins gets that second item, he says, there's nothing more to search for here. And he's just going to come back once he has the fire rod to fully clear that dungeon.
Exactly right. And we're going to see, the hook shot get put to work here for the big chest in Hera. Yeah, that was a mistake on his part not to put it to work earlier. As we get a full heart out of the digging game for El Magus.
Looks like Wild is going to forgo dipping into Skull Woods and is instead clearing Thieves Town.
Yeah, he's got enough to do it. Blue Mail helps.
Blue Mail helps. The fight against Blind is a challenging one with only the hammer, but I'll be impressed to see what he does with this.
And he may yet find some helpful items. We've got 4 of them here in Thieves Town, so you can keep track. We get that early big key as we must. As Rez is working on Moldorm with his hammer and does finish the job. Well done. So we get our first crystal just 17 minutes into this one.
Now, I wasn't able to count items for Rez. Do you know if he got all 2 from Tower of Hera?
I also happen to miss it.
I did see that Moldorm dropped 3 bombs, so if just one other chest had something for him, he's full cleared that.
Yeah, knowing he doesn't have a way to deal with it in either case, we're not going to see him recheck that.
No.
Not until he has to. And it looks like so far there was it 1 item up top for Thieves Town? Or I guess it might have to be 2.
Looks like it was only perhaps 1, but I'm seeing comments in chat about it being a sharpened stick, which could mean Wild has picked up the fighter sword. Tracker's certainly saying that he has, which is great.
Ah, good news.
So that makes the fight with Blind substantially easier.
Indeed.
Trying to do that with a hammer is a pain.
And you don't really have to worry about which sword or hammer you have for this because of Blind's very unique damage tables. He runs more or less a pattern rather than a health bar.
That's right. If you were a kid and you thought, oh, I'll just get the level 3 or 4 sword before fighting Blind, that was doing you no good. In fact, it's just 9 hits on Blind, whatever you use.
Oh, the bottle was there in the Hype Cave. Missed it among the other items.
Too excited for the flute.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see the Ice Rod Cave check from El Magus now.
Yeah, this is a location that's very far out of the way, so most players don't check it early. Especially because if it's something like that 3 bombs that El Magus got, it's pretty bad, and a pretty bad use of your time.
Right. Now, I'm supposing he at least did a little better there by activating the flute to shorten the trip. But
yeah, that makes it a lot less painful.
But still, it ends up feeling bad by the end of it if it's not paid out well.
So we're gonna get a pyramid check from Rez. Oh no!
Oh, jeez. Takes a death instead. And the bow.
Wild has found the bow.
In Thieves Town, big chest. We'll see each of our players catch that up fairly quickly as they all have the hammer heading in. But indeed, this kind of sets the course for the next couple of dungeons.
And the
by
cane.
God, this is rather hype Thieves Town.
A
We got
sword, the hammer, the cane of Samaria.
Yeah.
Anyone who doesn't go to Thieves Town early today is going to have a long time finding stuff for this seed.
Indeed. And we got chat already hoping for more hype, but I think we've seen all 4 items now. It was a blue rupee, the other 3 good items, the sword, the cane, and the bow. And so we've got a burrito or a plate of nachos on mine.
So it looks like Elmagus is heading into Eastern Palace here.
Interesting. And a shame when we know where the bow is, as Seven has picked up the cane first, and blind goes down so easy.
Very clean blind fight.
Yeah, it looks like he runs the script. There's the first time you fight blind, because of the way you have to bring the maiden in, it's a determinate fight. It appears wild and random, but well practiced and well executed for him.
There's a very specific sequence of movements you can do that will direct the heads around the room in just the right way, that you don't have to worry too hard.
Right, and it looks like we're having a bit of technical difficulties, but we'll be right back with this.
Looks like we're back already.
Yeah.
To some extent.
We do see Seven has entered his blind fight, as Wild has now decided, well, I've got the bow, and I know how to use it. Let's go to Eastern. Hoping to find a lamp at some point, rather than heading up for Pod. Deciding to see about this, with Elmagus already in Eastern, picking up one of the rods. I could not note the color. And an awesome fight from Seven there to finish off blind. We got so much excitement going on right now, and I haven't been able to keep track of any of it, as we have the pulls from the back of Sahasrahla and the big chest out of Eastern.
That's right. So it looks like 3 of our 4 runners are now in that eastern side of the world. Seven Sins being the only one who isn't.
Right, and if we're counting this right, then Wild Anaconda is the only one with the bow, and we're going to see him finish off Eastern, where...
That's right.
Yeah, our other runners are going to have to continue later.
I'm a bit surprised that Wild...
Oh, there was red mail
didn't.
we should have seen.
Oh!
In Sahasrahlas, as Wild is running around wearing it. Funny
So
how easy that is to miss.
That's 2 very early mail upgrades in this game.
Indeed.
It's tempting to read that as, the seed is going to push you somewhere very difficult very early. But, in fact, the mails are randomly placed without any bearing for the rest of the game. So,
Indeed.
I don't think there's anything to read into with that.
And what was that off of Stumpy? I could not read.
A couple of arrows, perhaps?
Huh. We're getting word from chat that Magus has the bow as well? Or was it Seven? Oh, Seven has the bow. Misread that. And Fluffy Mittens informing that it was arrows from Stumpy, so good eye.
Very good.
And we have Bamos in the beginning of the descent under the castle.
So depending on which medallions they actually need to open things, Elmagus could have all the information he needs.
Right.
Or
I
in
do
fact,
want to correct us earlier, though. We called the flute the hype item in the cave, but truly it is the bee.
there was a bee in that bottle?
Yeah, there was. I
Oh,
only
yeah.
noticed it now. I
Absolutely.
apologize. That was very remiss.
That bee's quite essential to play.
Yeah.
And we say that facetiously, but there are
Actually-
a couple of rooms where you can deploy that bee and wreck some enemies.
Yeah, bee strats in the beginning of Mire are pretty fun. Oh, and that turned out to be the fire rod we're seeing for Omega, which Wild then also picked up. That coming out of Eastern Palace. Oh, the bee also working on the blind fight, as chat reminds. And today in Zelda's chest, we have an arrow upgrade. I guess that's better than an arrow. We do need to save the princess after all.
That is the goal of this game. Seven Sins activating his flute. Everyone please rise for our national anthem.
Yeah, get those swag ducks in. Oh, right, and with the early silvers, this bow is all the more a leverage point for the seed.
So Wild's going to be able to finish up Eastern here with probably a very quick Armos fight. And I expect we'll see him head straight to Skull Woods after that. Since he's got his fire rod, he can clear that dungeon entirely.
Indeed. Meanwhile, we've got the bat not paying off, well, paying off in the literal sense, but not in the way that you'd like with 20 rupees. As we get a Mire check out of Seven Sins, we'll find out one of our dastardly medallions is, albeit for a pendant. And remembering then that the hookshot works better on those pterodactyls. And if you blinked, you missed it down on Wild Anaconda's screen with that Armos fight.
So that is 2 crystals for him already.
Right, giving him an objective lead in that sense.
Rez is now heading into the Dark World, so we might see him catch up a bit of that lead pretty quickly, especially if he does the early blind play.
Right. Having the unique advantage of clearing Tower of Hera earlier. Yeah, and we had glove upgrades in the Sanctuary chest or not Sanctuary, in Blind's Hut and in Skull Woods, to answer chat. And we're seeing Seven make a play on Pod. He's feeling comfortable with those dark rooms and with his rupee count.
Yeah, just 3 areas that he has to do in the dark here. I expect that all the runners in this race are pretty confident doing the dark rooms if they have to.
Yeah, it seems to be the trend. These guys know that all of their competition are learning them, and so you gotta follow suit.
In addition, runners are allowed to have notes on another monitor or print it out, so it'd be very common to see them watch a printout of what that maze looks like as they go through it, just so they don't get hopelessly lost.
Indeed. As far as I know, we do still have 2 of our runners running around without a sword, which is dark rooms remind me. But of course, with the red rang and the hook shot, we can get a bit of navigation. Where 7 will be able to use the traditional hold B maneuver.
That's right, that little swirl at the end of your sword when you've charged the spin attack, that actually shows up through the dark. And that's what most people use to keep track of where they're going.
We're seeing... I'm surprised to see that dam check from Wild.
I thought he had been down to South Light World already, but perhaps not.
Well, I think he had been. I think he had already done... when he walked in, the chest was open. Oh, and doing a pump fake on that switch to get the key out of the chest. As he runs for his life from the skulls. Alright. Putting that powder to use. Nice thing to have. If they get that bug net, the safety pack will be complete.
That's right. So looking at Wild make his way along the south shore, I actually don't think he's cashed in his flute yet, despite being the first of these 4 racers to get one.
Interesting. Yeah, but he does line up this fake flipper. We find a single rupee on the Lake Hylia island, and we're going to find out, hopefully soon, what the hobo has, unless that dastardly sniper arrow guard has something to say for it.
So now that Rez and Almagus have both made their way into Thieves Town, I think we're going to see all 4 runners with the sword, with the Cane of Samaria, and with the bow pretty soon, which is a nice loadout for them all to have.
Indeed. Now, it looks like we had basically a vanilla bottle on the hobo.
Was there anything in that?
It appeared to be empty.
So very vanilla.
Yeah, must have drank all the moonshine. But yeah, to remind you all of the format, we've got all runners running the same seed on this feed, but we've got green versus red and blue versus yellow for the purpose of tournament standings.
So Wild's doing a very strange glitch here, called the Water Walk, where he can enter and exit a cave, and because he has the Moon Pearl, the game is checking on his state in some different ways each time he goes inside and out, and by entering and exiting that cave a couple of times, he can end up walking to pick up those chests.
Very well explained.
And then he's going to continue that water walk as he heads up to Zora to buy something for 500 rupees. And I think he's the first one to buy from Zora.
I have not seen it yet. And he gets it. He gets the hammer yump, and he gets the flippers for it. Very nice, while the lantern pops out of Zora's mouth.
So that lantern kind of puts Wild Anaconda back on the sequence. He now understands what path he was supposed to take to get all these items he has.
Persistent pays off for 7. He'll have a little bit easier time managing this room.
Looks like he is taking the death in there.
Yeah, and
I
judging
don't
by the
think he
speed
got
at
those
which he took
chests.
it. Yeah, I cannot be sure. Yeah, lacking the mirror and needing to go other places in pod, not uncommon to see our runners take that death on purpose. As we have a sink up the stairs on the left side for our guys in Thieves Town. Let's see. And well, there's the mirror.
There's the mirror that Seven Sins wanted to get back to the entrance of the dungeon.
All right. Oh, and the sink getting broken by a slight technical snafu. Well, not anyone's fault, but just the way the internet works. Deciding to take the death warp again. I guess he wants the health back. As Magus and Rez end up just about synced on the end of their blind fights anyhow, each getting a compass and a crystal.
So it looks like Seven Sins warped out of pod so that he could come back to the light world and clear the Eastern Palace first.
Interesting.
And so we'll probably see him finish this, then go back into Dark World and complete the Palace of Darkness. It's an interesting routing choice. I don't think it'll hurt him at all.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe he's not ready to deal with the downstairs without the lamp and is hedging his bets here.
That room with 4 turtles or 6 turtles does get a bit dicey when you don't have a
Indeed.
lamp.
We're seeing Wild make his descent into the dungeon under Hyrule Castle. Check he has to make, but will be disappointed by. Let's see. At this point, we've got 7 can get through Swamp Palace now. And if Anaconda makes his way to Pod, he'll be able to do the same.
That's right, and I hope Wild makes one of those choices right now to either go to Pod or to Skullwoods.
Yeah, Skullwood's the better play for the crystal. Swamp, I was only thinking because of the sheer item count.
Well, he'll have to go to Pod first to get the flippers, just to get into Swamp Palace, but...
Indeed.
Seven Sins picking up his Fire Rod.
And you know, there's that dastardly turtle room comes with 2 torches, and so we might see him turn around and make that play after Eastern then anyway.
That's right. Oh, so Wild, I think, wants to go to the Palace of Darkness, but doesn't have the rupees after he spent those 500 at Zora.
Oh!
So he's headed
right,
down to the entrance of the desert area, which has the fastest rupee farming in the game, even though it's still pretty slow.
Indeed. And so now with his 131 rupees and a bit of frustration, he does flute over to number 5. Or, well, number 4. And is gonna walk it this way.
We'll see what he does with that.
Yeah. Meanwhile...
Elmagus, on the other hand, has gone into the back half of Skullwoods. He is destroying Gibdos with a hammer, and it's probably going to go all the way through and take out the Moth right now.
I should hope so. Meanwhile, trying to get a clear path to run. And now on his way.
So this will be a challenging fight for Elmagus, based on the weapons that he has.
Yeah, Mothula is quite the difficult fight in general for the arena, and also for the surprisingly long health bar. But it turned out Wild's plan was to go to the pyramid, and then he'll make his way to Pod.
That'll be good. We didn't quite see a pyramid check earlier.
Indeed. Just $20. So we got both of our blue and our red frames here, Rez and 7 in Eastern. 7 a little further along. The Mothula fight has begun.
So he's burned through his Fire Rod and switched to Hammer just for that last hit.
Yeah, well, you have to squash bugs.
So we saw some very impressive dodging as he stayed in one place on that floor and missed all those spikes.
Yeah. Seven pulls his burrito off of Armos, pardon me.
There are a lot of bosses in this game.
And a lot of them with A's and S's.
So that makes his second crystal.
Indeed. Kind of everybody at a relative tie here. Different levels of information and loadout. Although, actually, no, the loadouts have somewhat converged, save for a Bombos for 7 Sins.
That's right, I think he's the only one who hasn't been to the castle basement. So it looks like Elmagus is heading back to East Death Mountain. He might be going up to the Tower of Hera here, and then we'll probably see him duck back into the Dark World after that's over.
Yeah. Indeed. He's got the opportunity here to look at Turtle Rock and see if he's going to need to get that ether. Well, he might need it for Meyer, but...
Seven Sins finally doing Sahasrahla, getting his red mail and blue meringue.
Oh, that's where that was. Huh. Do admit I missed it. While Wild is just slaying mimics in Palace of Darkness, and in the other dimension we have Rez taking out the Igors.
So I expect Wild's going to find his mirror in the next couple of minutes here. It's where the big key would normally be in the Palace of Darkness.
Indeed. Seven is making that mountain play again as well. Putting that hook shot to work to cross the bridge. But he's gonna go to Dark World first.
Yeah, he's the only player with the mirror right now, so he's able to kind of duck in and out as he goes up the mountain.
Yeah, it's a good smart move, and with that hook shot in tow as well, we'll see a good 7 items picked up here between Super Bunny, Hookshot Cave, and the trip to the floating island.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's been down to the Meyer area, so he may not know that ether's required for that.
Right. We do get rupees and a fortunate heart piece, or maybe the sank heart out of Super Bunny Cave for 7. Only going off of audio there.